Holy fuck. That was the most incredible experience of my life. Hands down. Holy fuck.
I'm an alligator. I'm a mama, papa coming for you.
Hey, this is Dammit, and here's my report for the ceremony I conducted on Saturday, August 14th, 2021. It was fucking incredible. It really was one of the craziest experiences of my life. Maybe shooting this in this park with all these people around probably isn't the best idea, but I wanted you to see the beautiful park right by my house and the fountain, which makes this like a truly world-class location. It was split into two sections: utter misery and complete exultation. I started off pretty ambivalent about doing it at all. I wasn't looking forward to it. I really just did it out of a sense of obligation. And mostly I got what I thought I was gonna get, which was a thorough ass whooping. I used 7 grams of cubensis backed with a 3-gram water extract of Syrian rue, 2 hits of pot, and I was stone sober for the first couple hours. Which is to say I was tripping really hard. I was under a tremendous amount of psychic and physical strain, but I wasn't seeing anything at all. It was a miserable experience. And I really was, I've been dogged by fears that this stuff just wasn't working for me as well anymore, and I couldn't figure out why. Was it because I've built up a tolerance to it over time? Is it because there's something demonic that's suppressing the experience? I just didn't know, And I was really gratified to find during the song Up and Atom by Astronoid that the medicine opened up spectacularly, like in a way that I'd never have experienced with that song before. I was listening, I was going through it, I was doing fine. I wasn't, it was hard, but I was getting through it. And then all of a sudden the music just started to sound wonderful. This heavy thrash metal with these dreamy vocals on top. The thing about that song is it's really informationally dense. It's a lot to take when you're on a high dose. It can be really disorienting. But I've gotten to the point now where I can concentrate and really maintain a single point of focus through it. And as I was doing that during the song, like I said, it just started sounding wondrous. And as my emotion deepened, all of a sudden the medicine opened and this tremendous rush of psychedelic energy started flowing through me. And it lasted for about 30 seconds, and then it was over, and then I was right back to where I was, which was battling a demon. And I know how fucking nuts that sounds, but honestly, that is, I think, the actual case of what's happening. There is a presence that descends upon me. It presents itself in my visionary space as vermin, usually like flies, sometimes rats or spiders, sort of superimposed on what I'd be seeing anyway. And it tries to pull me down into despair. It does. And as soon as that brief burst of psychedelic energy had passed, it was back on me. And once again, I was just sort of like, I guess the best way to describe it is it's grueling. It's a grind. From moment to moment, you're like, I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time. You're insisting that you are, and you're doing the work. You're trying to get into the emotions that each song is supposed to create, but it's hard and it's not fun. It's really hard work, and you can feel that you are performing purely under your own power, which is limited. You, like anybody, you'll start to get tired after a while. And I had done the ceremony that day I was already on a 24-hour fast to try to make things a little bit easier on my gut, and I think my blood sugar was starting to get low by a certain point. But even a song like Common People at the end of the Stereo Myth, which ends in this exultant like ooh la la like sing-along part, I suddenly just saw like this close-up image of a really obese man, like shirtless and sweating and just sort of gross, and this is what resistance does. It tries to, it makes things hideous. It pulls things down. That's what it does. It accuses and tells lies. It tells the worst story about everything. And I say here that the main thing is staying in the moment and just being positive. And that's where the training is, right? You are having an experience that could be miserable, but you simply don't let it. You just make yourself keep working. And then I got to the intermission, and which can often be very, very enjoyable for me. That song Could This Be Magic by Barry Manilow is often a gateway to an enthusiasm, which is that state of sort of being possessed by spirit. And but this time, my note says, and this is transcribed from the video that I took during the ceremony. Could This Be Magic was an experience of extended emotional and spiritual blue balls that left me trembling with desire and fear, and dying for the presence of the goddess, which did not arrive during also Sprak Zarathustra, which is the song immediately following. And I added this parenthetical note later. It was a lot like having sex but not being able to come. You're so close and you're really trying, but the release won't arrive, and you start to get self-conscious and frustrated, and then all hope evaporates. And so that was me, prepared and ready and trembling on the brink, but unable to sustain the effort. And I was saying, please come to me, Ma, please, to the goddess. And she didn't. And so I had to, again, I couldn't let that get to me. I could not let that ruin the experience. I still had 2 hours to go. So I kept going through the through the transcendental disco. And by the time I got to dancing on my own, I realized something, which was that part of the problem I was having was that spirit was there, but I was locked up against it. I couldn't allow it to enter. And that had something to do with the ongoing fact that in these visionary experiences, promises of support are made to me regularly. And they haven't arrived, you know? And I was seeing in terms of my visionary content, I saw like a loading dock, dirty tarps, and a Sanford and Son style junkyard. And that was the sort of like symbolic representation of this kind of dirty, despairing garbage heap of a place I'm finding myself in emotionally. I am stuck in a situation that I have to bear up to, and it was like a physical impasse. And in that moment, I felt something loading me, and I saw like I was holding up 3 garbage trucks worth of like offal, OFFAL, awful, but also AWFUL, awful. And it was trying to crush me, trying to crush my belief. And I'm not yet strong enough that I can carry that entire weight 100% alone and still be able to relax and believe that it's all going to work out. And I kept reaching for divine help, and she kept withholding. And she kept seeming to say, you can do more. You can do more. Keep trying. Get stronger. Until finally I got to the song Chandelier, and at that point, I was exhausted. I was fucking dying, honestly. I right here, I was that close to having a complete psychedelic meltdown. I was done, and I knew I was gonna have to force myself back up on my feet, and it was going to be miserable. But I wasn't going to quit, but in the back of my mind, even though I was like, I'm not gonna quit, I'm not gonna quit. I always remember that last summer, I got to the same place and I did quit. Like the force just got to be too much, too terrible. And that spiraling out broke me emotionally. And so anytime I go into these experiences, I do so knowing that there's a chance where I might end up in that place. That sent me into 2 months of depression and panic attacks and suicidal ideations. And nobody got time for that. But it started to seem like a distinct possibility. And then during the Katy Perry song that follows, Firework, things started to turn around. And subtly at first, I started to feel energy. pour into me. I'm exhausted. I'm doing everything I can just to be on my feet and dancing. And then all of a sudden it was just like, oh my God. You know, it was that market and that quickly too. And that song is followed by a Mystery of the Bulgarian Voices song called Polegnai Todora. And that was, well, simply one of the most incredible experiences of my life.
For the length of that Mystery of the Bulgarian Voices song, I was in the divine presence, tearing me apart.
An unbearable tidal agony of her love. And how do I even begin to describe this, except this is that same enthusiasm experience, which I've managed to capture on video a few times, but those generally last for like 30 seconds. This lasted for almost 5 minutes. She was healing me, but she was fueling it by digging into my deepest hurts, and like I felt a hand reaching into my bowels, like into the deepest part of me. And I'm partially on camera, it's not well lit, so I'm not going to use any of the video, but I start like convulsing in my seat and retching as I felt this force like digging into the dungeons of my being. There was little in the way of translatable images, really. It wasn't super visual. I think I saw immense mechanisms, kind of like Jack Kirby machines. Jack Kirby used to draw the old Fantastic Four comic books. But I did notice, somehow in the moment, I was feeling like, oh God, I wish there was even more visual. And then I immediately was embarrassed to be such a greedy little shit, to be having a thought like that in the moment of it. And I apologized to her, and I understood what it means to be unworthy, because I truly was in that moment. I was my flaw. One of my great flaws is revealed, is that in part of me is still the same selfish little shit that I was when I was a little kid, you know, just greedy for more experience and more and more and more. But she didn't care, and she just made it very clear in that moment that this is all happening, that I had proved myself worthy, I had passed a test, and to relax and accept all the wonderful things that are about to happen. And I swore on my soul that if it all came true, that I would build her a civilization that would turn this situation around. I meant it too, and in that moment it was 100% real. And the other funny thing was, like, in that moment, in that extremity, I managed to have the presence of mind to put in a personal request. And I told her, like, Ma, it's time for me to get married. I should get married, Ma. I need a partner. I need somebody to help me do this. And she, again, promised me, oh, don't you worry about that. It's all picked out, it's all arranged. You are not gonna believe what's coming your way. I mean, what do you say about this? I had a supernatural experience. And yet, when I came out of it, within 5 minutes later, resistance was on me. That wasn't real. That wasn't real. It's just drugs. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. And I know for a fact, again, for a little while, until I get too far away from it back into the everyday world, that I am locked into something mythic, something titanic, something so far beyond my ability to grasp. But I will say one thing, and that's money talks and bullshit walks. That's the point I'm at. If everything happens the way that I've foreseen it, then videos like this are going to be my evidence of a true miracle. The only miracle that this culture would actually listen to. The only one that nobody could accuse me of faking with CGI. And I saw the whole plan for everything that I will accomplish when I have the resources that I've been promised, and it's going to be awesome. Just riding it out a little bit. One thing that I saw towards the end, I mean, really had a great time visualizing the show, you know, but especially thinking about the troupe that I want to put together, the performance troupe, the phonomancers that I'm going to train up, you know, these actors that are going to also be go-go dancers and singers. And some of the practices we're going to have together, like doing some of these songs, especially like Beauty and Falling Leaves by Yob and Spoon Man by Soundgarden, as a group, like in a circle, you know, and sort of having one person be in the lead position, but trading off that lead position, you know, and while you're there, you give it everything you've got, and then when you're done, you step out and you let somebody else take over, and that person guides the energy of the group, excuse me, for the length of the song. And I saw how wonderful it would be to have this group of really accomplished and fit in every meaning of the word, and earnest and dedicated to each other people, you know. It's a fantasy. It's an alternate reality. It's a fiction in my mind, and yet I'm going to create it. I'm going to create it first in books, and then I'm going to create it in some kind of, like, I think it's going to kind of look like a TV show, even though it'll probably just be on YouTube. And then I'm going to create it in real life. It's going to kind of like, it's going to be the shamanic version of the Monkees. I know. I'm still in the afterglow. I haven't had an experience like that in months, where I truly feel like I've got a new lease on life today, man. I really do. Like, there's no hint of depression, no hint of loneliness, anything like that. She poured herself into me, and I'm still buzzing with it. And I cannot wait for the day when my unbelief is finally behind me and I'm surrounded by people who share my approach, and I'm not fighting this awful diabolic force every time. I might be fighting something else, or maybe this will never go away, but part of me believes there's going to be a time where this is going to be easy and fun again, and I can't wait. All right, as ever, I'm your buddy, Dammit, reminding you that if you're going to say yes to any pleasure in life, you have to say fuck yeah to every pain as well. Do it for your ma.
I'm an alligator. I'm a mama, papa coming for you.